Ow. What's up, everyone? Punchy back with Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 3, to Higurashi. Like I said before, last episode, we are currently on the bridge. A bridge I've never seen before, I think. With our hands on our head and Ch.3 behind us. Don't feel safe at all. She thinks we are possessed. We just saw, last episode, we saw a lot of things. Oh, God, I'm starting from what most recently happened in the story and further back, and Rika-chan is dead. Very, very gruesomely, graphically dead. And it wasn't us, or... There's so many things that are happening in this, I can't even... Was it us? I don't think it was us, because the days didn't seem to, like, go by. Like, we didn't seem to be missing anything, although I guess there are some days where we woke up really late, but that's from, like, trying to kill Ch.3's uncle and stuff, and being very tired the night before. So, I don't think it was us. There are too many things happening. Anyway, so the last thing that happened, though, was Ch.3 telling us a story about how basically she broke into the storehouse, broke stuff, and Rika got blamed for it. So we're gonna see what happens. I know, I understand. This is Oyashiro-sama's curse. His judgment for messing up the ritual storehouse and forsaking my best friend. Oyashiro-sama's curse? And my mother and father too. They vanished in that muddy stream. My mean aunt died too. But then Nini, who loved me more than anyone, ran away from home. And then Punchy-san transferred in, and I thought I'd finally gotten my fun life back. But this time, Punchy-san was possessed. And even Rika got killed. Just something I heard once. Oyashiro-sama, when he really curses someone, he doesn't kill them right away. He goes in order of your closest friends, and after killing them all, he kills that person last. Oh, wait, so it's still her. So, Punchy-san, the curse got you too. I'm sure that Rena-san and Mia-san will be cursed next. And then they'll kill and be killed. No, no more. No! Calm down, Ch.3. There's no curse. Nobody's trying to torment you. When I turned around, I was thrust away with amazing force. Given my hands were awkwardly placed on my head, I couldn't take the fall and lost my balance. And had been pushed not into the bridge, but to the side. Called it. Towards the stream. No, this can't be happening. Whoa! That was pretty good. That was me screaming and rolling away from the mic. As one last miracle, I was allowed to grab a cord hanging from the bridge. Far below me was the stream. We were pretty high up, and below were rocks of all sizes. If I fell, clearly it wouldn't be pretty. The entire bridge was tilting under my body weight. My frail little grip probably wouldn't last another minute before my fingers had to let go. Ch.3! Ch.3! I didn't understand myself what I meant by shouting her name then. Was I asking her to save me? Or was I asking her why she did this? Finally, everything came back into focus, and I saw Ch.3, and I was surprised at what an odd expression she had. It was the first time I'd seen it. It was an expression of righteous anger, meant only for those who needed to die. Oh my! Jeez. Oh, it's another thing I don't really want to keep looking at. Die, you murderer! Give him back! Give back my Nini! Give back Rika and Mommy and Punchy-san! Wah! Rah! And she screamed. She jerked the bridge to and fro. She didn't have to do that. It's going to fall. Anyway. I won't lose to the likes of you. I won't lose to some stupid curse. I will never, ever lose to you. You took everyone. I will never lose to you. Not ever. Ch.3, please, just let me say one thing. I don't know what my face looked like at the time, but it seemed like this was enough to quell Ch.3's agitation. I know that what I did isn't exactly praiseworthy. No, in fact, maybe I should never have done it at all. But I did it because I wanted you to be happy. Please, just believe that. You, at the very, very end, you're still pretending to be Punchy-san. Well, I mean, maybe? Maybe Punchy was taken over? I mean, look at chapter 2 with Mion, how, like, it was like Demon Mion was talking to Punchy. She already said that old Mion was long gone, you know? That Demon Mion was granting Punchy's last wishes and etc, etc. And like she turned. Is that what we... Is this like the viewpoint of that? Like Punchy turned into a demon Punchy? So it's interesting. I see similarities right now, but I don't know where... I don't know. That's the only thing I've got so far. I don't even know that's right. Stoka didn't seem to have any more desire to listen to what I had to say, and for that to happen at the very end like this was tragic. I didn't do any of it so you would praise me. If it made you happy, that was all that mattered. We were nothing. Without your smile, we were nothing. Who's we? So, after I disappear, please, smile. If you can get on with your new life by my dying, then please, just smile. Can't you at least promise me that? Oh, God, I don't want to look at that again. Stop speaking! Don't use Punchy-san's mouth like that! Fall down! Die! So we fell. And those were the last words Satoko ever said to me. Those sad, tragic, and altogether unrewarding words. What on earth was I? My desire to make Satoko happy ended up like this. Where did I first go wrong? And what was the mistake I made? When did I make it? Was I the crazy one? Or was it Hinozawa? Even after all of this, I thought I wasn't crazy at all. It was this eerie world that was crazy. This world I'd actually wandered into that one night. Because that fun world where I never doubted all was the crazy times we had as a club would go on forever. It couldn't possibly have transformed into such an abnormal world. That fun world wouldn't have ever ended with this, with Satoko pushing me to my death. Is there an arc where everything just goes normally? Like, had this been when I first started, I would have been so bored, but I could really, really use that right now. In the end, I was going to be swallowed up by this crazy world and disappear. No, I'd probably already disappeared. Yes, probably. On the night of the Watchnagashi. I'm sure that in the world I really belonged to, I had vanished that night, and everyone was worried. It was laughable that I'd taken this long to figure out I wasn't around anymore. Oishiro-sama's curse on the 5th year was Satoko's uncle dying and me disappearing. Interesting. In the real world, Satoko had already been freed. Maybe my friends were all lamenting my disappearance and valiantly trying to get back on their feet. And even though they were down to 4 people, the club would reopen and they would have a good time without me. Waiting for the day when I would come back. I'm sorry, everyone. I couldn't come back home. But this is what I wished for. This was my wish for Satoko's smile, as my duty as her Nini. At this point, there will be nobody left to torture you. Because Satoshi and I, it took 2 years, but we succeeded. That annoying toothy smile of yours. We wanted to see it. One more time. Ugh. I assume Punchy made a little noise there. Oh, end of chapter 3. Okay, my pain wasn't gentle or merciful. It was a sharp pain, violent, powerful, and ruthless. What little compassion I had receded in the span of a moment. And now I could die. I could say goodbye to this insane world. Farewell, crazed Hinamizawa. Thanks for giving me the psychic powers to kill people whenever I wanted. If you still allow it, I'll wish for one last thing. The death of this very world, of this crazed Hinamizawa, so that nobody would ever again have to find themselves lost here again. Oh! Oh god. What a chapter! I'm looking forward to the break thingy where they all discuss. Oh, who knew the ending would be being thrown from Satoko? Oh, we have actually tips. Tips before the ending? It's like the all-star review thing. All-cast review, not all-star. Research notes. Research notes. It's gotta be, what's her name's? Takano's, right? She's the only one who's been researching, really. Oyashiro-sama. Nobody really knows what characters to use to write Oyashiro-sama. Yeah, I guess in Japanese, obviously. Knowing this is hard, partly because depending on the time period. He's been called with various titles, with subtle changes to his name, and nobody knows the real one. The only thing all time periods agree with is that the 4 syllables O, Ya, Shi, Ro are always used. There's a theory stating the shrine, or Yashiro, dedicated to Oyashiro-sama itself became an object of worship. That the people calling it O Yashiro-sama or Lord Honorable Shrine, but this doesn't make a bit of sense. I don't know whether this is related, but people say the Furude family, the most respected bloodline in terms of worshipping Oyashiro-sama, actually inherited his blood. Huh. In the legend, the Furude family passes down, if for 8 generations in a row the firstborn child is a girl, the 8th daughter will be the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama. Oh, what? Is it it's gotta be Rika. If we go by this legend, the character used for Oyashiro-sama's name should be O for honorable, Ya for 8, and Shiro for generation. These character assignments are simply something I've thought up. There's no way to verify it. If this is true, then Oyashiro-sama would have been named as such under the assumption he would come again. The second coming of an object of worship can be seen in several religions, so this isn't unusual. But a few of these religions call the second coming of their object of worship a day of judgment, or something along those lines. And we must not forget they mean it to be the end of the world. Rika Furude, pampered and loved dearly by the elderly folk in the village. The rumors say she's the 8th generation of Oyashiro-sama. I do not know the family tree of the Furudes, but at the very least I can confirm for the past 2 generations the first child has been a girl. Rika Furude watched over Hinamizawa. If the village were to lose her protection, what would happen? Huh. How does this play into what already happened? Well, I guess that makes sense why Rika is so loved and like everyone does everything for her, because everyone thinks that she is the second coming of Oyashiro-sama. That's interesting. I wish I knew that ahead of time. Weirdly, because Rika is one of my favorites. I guess Oyashiro-sama is one of my favorites. Would peace between man and demon be lost? Would it once again create a hellish landscape where man-eating demons run rampant? That's true. Rika is gone right now. She died. Very gruesomely. A gruesome feast of the demons, who suddenly remembered how delicious the weak humans were, who could only cry and scream, and run for their lives. What would that look like? Just imagining it is enough to make my heart pound with excitement. Oh, Takano-san, still weird in death. Alright. Okay. Frames are going down. Alright. Let's get to this all-star. Not all-star. All-cast. Or have an epilogue, too. Sure. I assume that's the the stream that we fell by, judging by all the nice little rocks that that killed us when we fell. My head was pounding. The sky was bright. It was cold too. It hurt. Each sensation I felt led to a new and different one awakening. He didn't die? From a suspended bridge? I mean, Aragorn did it, I guess. When I came to, I was lying face first on a dry riverbed. A few body parts hurt a lot. Well, yeah! You were supposed to have died, man. The skin over a bunch of my joints was torn, turning blue or red, or oozing blood. I could tell it was my bones that were in pain from the agony I felt whenever I moved. I looked up and saw how high the bridge was from which I'd fallen. Was. Considering I dropped from there, it was a miracle that I could open my eyes again. Seriously. Right next to me was a broken, upside-down car seat, which I guess some pranksters had brought here. Maybe this thing had been conveniently lying right under me, allowing me to escape instant death. Miraculous, not Lee. Of course, I didn't know whether this miracle was fortunate or unfortunate. I'd failed to die, and now I was still stuck in this insane world. How long had I been unconscious for? The sun was high in the sky, so it looks like only 1 or 2 hours had passed. But my body's sluggishness didn't make it feel at all like so short a time had gone by. Mentally, it felt like I'd been asleep here for a decade. The more feeling returned to my body, the more the pain flooded in. It hurt so much, it would have been better not to have woken up. I just wanted the all-cast review. I needed to get to a doctor. Yeah, to Coach's clinic. The term Coach's clinic brought memories back one after another. Memories I wish I hadn't recalled. Soko was no longer on the bridge. She would have returned to Hinamizawa by now. And she would put on some clothes, go to the clinic, get a checkup, and report on how crazy I'd seemed. The police were waiting for me without a doubt. This time, they would find out for real that I killed her uncle and arrest me. Or would they send me to a mental institution like I thought they might? Still, I didn't care which it was. Please, someone stop all this pain. You can boil me or cook me after that, whatever you want. I began to walk unsteadily. He's able to get up? Oh my god, just limping along. I went downstream, and then through an animal trail-like path in the woods. I walked haphazardly, searching for a path I knew. Eventually, I finally came across a familiar road and set off towards the clinic. Not to my house, but to the clinic, which had treated me like a lunatic. It was hot and humid. There was no wind, and the air was stagnant. For a while now, I've been smelling this terrible stench of burned eggs, and it made my face scrunch up. And then, at last, I noticed something. I couldn't hear any cicadas. It was the first time I'd heard Hinamizawa be so utterly silent. When I thought back, it seemed like birds always chirped in the mornings, cicadas always cried loudly in the afternoon, and Higurashi always rose up in a chorus in the evenings. Always something to hear. I couldn't hear a single insect. The only thing I could hear was the rustling of the wind brushing the treetops. I'd never experienced this sort of quiet before. Even the only sound coming from the trees lacked life somehow. The trees were yellow, and many leaves were spread on the ground, despite it being too early for autumn. Even the weeds had been growing so persistently at the side of the road. Had yellowed, browned, and lost their vigor. Only the sunlight itself of the June Hinamizawa I knew. And yet, it seemed like the seasons had switched all of a sudden. Licking the fallen leaves and rotting weeds led me to spot a few small insects turned on their backs. They weren't moving. They were corpses. I looked closer to see insect corpses scattered all around, like a child had collected them as samples and then strewn them about. No. Not the last wish. This stench, what was it? Oh my god. It was terrible, like burned eggs. I just wanted the all-cast review. What keeps happening? Combined with all the bug corpses and leaves falling from the trees in summer. Had someone sprayed herbicides or pesticides around here? Even at the school we apparently fumigate, they call it pest disinfection or something, once or twice a year. I hadn't run into anybody, despite how bright it was outside. It was mid-afternoon, and yet it felt like I was sauntering about at midnight. Well, with this smell, nobody would want to be walking around outside. Just, what was this anyway? There was no sound, no noise, not even a breath. Hinamizawa was silent. The school would come into view right after turning this corner, and yet I couldn't hear any commotion at all. None of the shouts or grunts that children always made. It was simply quiet. Just as pretending to ignore the silence had grown intolerable, I saw the school. And finally, I heard something. It was the sound of a few trucks. There were a few very tall trucks parked in the schoolyard, idling. About 10 workers in raincoats were unloading things from their trunks. It was hot and humid, even in my casual clothing. I could imagine how unbearable that must have been. And then I remembered. Our school is rented from the Forest Service Field office building, wasn't it? It wasn't strange at all for Forest Service trucks to be doing some kind of work in the schoolyard. Besides, what did Forest Rangers do, anyway? I felt bad for them having to work in such heat, and with such a stench about. They were taking colorful cargo out of the truck and lining it up in the schoolyard. There were containers, fairly large ones, inside multicolored patchwork bags. Heavy too, they were being carried in pairs. They lined them very neatly, like tuna at a riverside fish market. Several, dozens, hundreds of tuna were completely filling the fairly wide schoolyard up. I forgot my pain for a little while, captivated by this big forest ranger job I'd never seen before. As I stood there watching in a daze, the people in raincoats working on the side noticed me. One of them pointed me out and shouted a few things back and forth. I thought they might yell at me for getting in the way, so I decided to leave post-haste. But then 2 trucks drove up behind me. I stepped aside as they entered the schoolyard. Sheets covered their trunks, but I could tell they were completely full. As they passed, there was an awful smell that made me want to choke. It wasn't the same burned egg smell before, but an even worse one, like rotten crab meat. No. Oh, the bags! Oh! It can't be. It just can't. It's been getting worse and worse for Punchy. It just can't. What on earth was it? I've been enshrouded in one terrible stench after another all day. Then, certain white letters emblazoned on the side of the passing trucks caught my eye. Ground Self-Defense Forces. What? Is that something for like a war or like aliens? Self-Defense Forces? Like the army? Well, why was the army in the schoolyard? Hey, you! Where did you come from? Suddenly, someone slapped me on the shoulders from behind. I turned around, and a canopied SDF Jeep was parked there. The SDF person had on a green raincoat and a gas mask, like in the movies, carrying a compressed air cylinder. He didn't look normal. There wasn't an inch of exposed skin anywhere. What happened? Jesus. Where did I— Ow! Ow! When I tried to talk, I stretched a wound on my head. It made the SDF people exchange glances. I couldn't see their faces through their masks, but they seemed surprised. Do you live in Hinamizawa? Can you tell us your name and address? Well, yeah, I sort of live here. My name is Punchy, Maebara. Oh, and my address? Hinamizawa Village, Shishibon. After seeing me tell my name and address without hesitation, one of the SDF people watching from the jeep started talking into a radio. "Base, do you read? Base, do you read? We have a 402 survivor discovered. I repeat, we have a 402. We found a survivor. He's in front of the Forest Service office. This is Base, we copy. Secure the survivor at once. What is his status? Survivor, hold up. Survivor, ground troop force, like, ground service forces, the army. That has to be, like... Okay. Don't want to say it, but those seem like the bodies of the children that they were carrying. Because rotten crab meat, there aren't a lot of things in the world that smell like rotten crab meat if they aren't dead. Ugh. Okay, just healthy. Wounded all over, but not fatally. Not fatally? Well, that's true. I mean, he walked all the way here. He can walk on his own. We'll send him to HQ for safety. I was prepared to go along with the police, but the SCF? Oh yeah, so it's gotta be like some big, like natural thing. I don't know, kind of like Chernobyl or something. Like kind of like a natural disaster or just some sort of big calamity. I was prepared to go along with the police, but the SDF? I couldn't help but think it seemed a little bit much. They urged me into the back of the jeep, and then they told me to put on this gigantic gas mask. I did so, and one of the troops fiddled around with it, strapping it tightly to me. It was heavy, hard to see out of, hot, and difficult to breathe. Just looking at the world through the lenses made a lucid sense of reality. My breathing sounded like some giant monster through the mask. At this point, I had no idea what was happening. With much trepidation, I asked the trooper adjusting my mask, excuse me, has something happened? Where were you? What were you doing? Hey, don't answer a question with more questions. I was the one asking you. I, fell from a rope bridge on my way back in the mountains. I think I passed out on the riverbed. I don't actually know what day it is. Today is June 22nd, 1983. Wednesday. That surprised me. Still could push me off the bridge on the Tuesday, the 21st. That meant I'd been asleep on the riverbed for an entire day. Forgive me for asking again, but did something happen? Why is the SDF here? Is this a drill? Had my question been that difficult for him? None of the troopers would answer me. The one in the driver's seat, talking on his own radio, turned on the vehicles. He turned the dial and some broadcast station or another came in. I started to listen to the voice of a radio announcer I was familiar with. It was conducted at the Prime Minister's office. In regards to the questions from the press that the SCF not responding to the disaster promptly was directly related to this unprecedented, unheard of catastrophe, Chief Cabinet Secretary Okuno had this to say. And so, I believe that once the SDF received the dispatch order from the prefectural governor, they responded promptly. According to him, the SDF was prompted to respond to the crisis after receiving their orders. He implied that it was the prefecture's responsibility for taking too long to comprehend the situation. Okay, I wasn't sure if it was the guy talking or the radio guy. When did the governor who requested the SDF's dispatch actually become aware of the outbreak of such an unprecedented catastrophe? And he did not invite further damage because of the time lost before he sent the request for disaster relief. In other words, because of the bureaucracy? We are awaiting further investigation into the matter. That was Mr. Okada, reporting from the Prime Minister's... Oh, dang it. So it was Mr. Okada. Okay, that was Mr. Okada, reporting from the Prime Minister's official residence. At this point, we can take another look at the political response following this disaster. See, disaster! I was too busy reading, I didn't think about it. In the middle of the night, between July 21st and 22nd, a large-scale disaster broke out in Hinamazawa village, Shishibone. The details have not yet been investigated, but there was an eruption of volcanic gas from somewhere in Hinamazawa area. The gas was relatively heavy, and as it spewed out, it began to flow. That flow went down along a small river and headed directly into Hinamazawa village, acting as nausea and headaches. The fire department received the same reports, all from the same confined region. They speculated a truck loaded with chemicals may have gotten into an accident and reported it to the local police. 6:30 a.m. Contact was lost with a patrol car on duty in the Hinazawa area after the police officer reported the smell of rotten eggs. The local police considered the possibility of a large-scale disaster involving a highly lethal gas and reporting it to the prefecture and prefectural police at 17 a.m. 8 o'clock a.m. The governor was traveling to a nearby prefecture for inspection, so, in accordance with regulations, the prefectural environmental disaster prevention chief was provisionally escalated to Director General and set up a disaster countermeasure office. However, without contacting the governor, the countermeasures came too late. As has recently been pointed out by Citizens Group, his trip with honorary Diet members to inspect other prefectures was based solely on good relations, and it's rumored they preoccupied themselves with a drinking party. Sources closer to him claimed the governor had been drinking all night and had gone to sleep in a drunken state. He was completely drunk when the environmental chief phoned him as well, and apparently he could not get him to pay attention to the matter. And so it took about an hour for the governor to sober up, get an understanding of the situation, and gather information. Though not as extreme as the governor's case. The environmental chief would have become Director General in the governor's absence, will likely also be questioned about his negligence. In addition, without any procedures in place on the prefecture's side that predicted catastrophes this massive, they would always react too late. That ended up being fatal. 9:12 a.m. On the advice of the prefectural police, the governor requested a disaster relief mission from the SDF. By the time the chemical defense unit, equipped with protective equipment, arrived on the scene, 8 hours had already passed since the incident's outbreak. Whatever the case may be, it was unfortunate this happened while everyone was sleeping in the middle of the night. Had the same disaster occurred during the day, it likely would have been entirely different. All households in the Hinazawa village region were wiped out. There were over 1,000 victims. The SDF is still confirming the situation on the ground, but their results are predicted to only increase that number. Here with us in the studio today is Dr. Fujiwara, the professor at university who is well acquainted with volcanic disasters. Doctor, can such a sudden and horrible outburst of poisonous gas actually happen? It isn't at all unusual for this to happen, right around craters at least. Japan is a volcanic nation, and so has many active volcanoes. There has always been a danger of hazardous gas around any of these craters, and is generally a rule among mountain climbers not to go near them. Does this mean the rotten egg smell that visited Hinazawa village was the normal sort of gas from volcanic craters? Judging by how it smelled like rotten eggs, we think it was hydrogen sulfide, a gas seen particularly frequently in accidents compared to other volcanic gases. If it's dense, it becomes extremely dangerous. Hinazawa village is very far away from the craters of any volcanoes. Can hydrogen sulfide be generated even from a place not even close to a crater? I don't know all the details, so I can't say anything concrete. But in other countries, there are records of gas eruptions due to magma building up under hot springs. It is an extremely rare event, but it is possible for such a thing to happen, even in a region not near craters. Thank you very much, Doctor. We appear to have an announcement from the Japan Defense Agency. Miss Morikawa, are you there? Yes, I am at the Japan Defense Agency. The agency just made an announcement regarding the source of the Hinazawa village gas disaster. Analysis from the Ground Self-Defense Forces Department of Chemistry has found that the gas is a mixture of carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide. Miss Morikawa, do you know whether the gas is still erupting or spreading to nearby areas? According to the SDF's 9th Division, who are currently engaged in a rescue operation in Hinazawa village, the gas density is steadily decreasing. They've announced that the damage will not spread. However, it does not change the fact that surrounding areas are still in danger and that very strict observation must be maintained. That was Morikawa from the Japan Defense Agency. And now, we have to report on the state of those who have been made to evacuate to Okinomiya area. Shimoshinozaki Elementary School is one of the evacuation sites, and we currently have a reporter on scene. Okay, oh, we are way over the time. You know what? I'm just gonna keep going, and I'm gonna cut this in half. And then just try and work out those two. Wait, what? Oh, I didn't even think about what I was saying because I was really trying for that old announcer voice, radio announcer voice. So yeah, I feel like I've seen movies where it always end up like something big. It's a horror movie too, where like a bunch of people die and then people come to investigate and it turns out it's some like just catastrophic, really rare occurring event that happens, and then like usually the main character is the survivor and things go on, you know what I mean? Inside the Jeep, clambering and bouncing along the road, no one had answered my muttered question. An unprecedented catastrophe had destroyed Hinamizawa in a single night? Where was Hinamizawa village anyway? Some place deep in the mountains, right? Names of places I'd heard about on the radio were always like that. They were all places I'd never heard of, much less knew the locations of. Wiped out? What does that mean? Don't they usually say how many died and how many were injured? How many people were alive? Where did everyone evacuate to? Eventually, we came into view of Koshi's clinic. For the first time, I saw the flag of Japan hanging on a pole outside. Japan's circular song hung down as though exhausted. Many SDF tents were set up in the clinic's big parking lot, and many strict security vehicles were parked there as well. When they saw Jeep coming, men in white clothing and gas masks came running out of the clinic, frantic, carrying a stretcher. You're going to be alright. How do you feel? Can you walk? Yes. Ow. And because of my ows, they forced me to lay in the stretcher anyway. People who seemed like doctors were looking at me, notifying others of my condition via radio. Multiple wounds. High possibility of fractures and internal damage. Large laceration on the head. People's normal, but even without bleeding from the fundus. Brain damage still possible. And then, from the clinic entrance, people lying on stretchers were brought outside to replace me. Judging by their clothing, they were from Hinamizawa. That's how I knew they were victims. They brought the stretchers in front of a truck. Two troops holding shoulders and legs, like some kind of baggage, picked them up and threw them into the truck. Oh my god. What? Ah! In the trunk of the truck, people's bodies, piled in heaps. They were just like baggage, and Dad told me they were already nothing but shells. Oh, that's rough to see. At that moment, I remembered. Oh my god, see, yes! All those colorful sacks filling the trunks, and then lined up the schoolyard like fish market. Oh my god, those are the children of the school. Hundreds of empty shells. Corpses. 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 All the corpses. You jackasses! Don't just throw the victims in like that! They lived here! The troops carrying the sacks answered me with a humble salute. The world didn't need this insane version of Hinamizawa. You see, his final wish. Oh my god. I mean, things were already happening when I finally got an idea of what might be happening, but come on, man! My final wish. Again, it was granted. I didn't understand anything anymore. None of it mattered. I wished, I cursed, and then it happened the next day. Then please, tomorrow morning, let me die. That insane night is still going on. Please, please, end it already. But we died already. We were supposed to die once, and it didn't happen. Cause it was like Satoko described the curse, right? So you had the curse placed upon you, and you don't die. Just everyone around you slowly does. Although this wasn't slowly. This was all at once, because it catered to his wish. He's lost consciousness! Shout out his name! Quickly! Meibaru-kun! Can you hear me? If you can hear me, just blink! Meibaru-kun! 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 Suddenly, the world didn't matter to me anymore. I wasn't interested in their cries. His breathing stopped. Get his respiratory tract open. Use CPR. Make him live. Damn it. Damn it. No more. No more dead people. Nobody deserves to die. Don't kill him. Don't kill him. I could hear the voice of a man crying and screaming in my ears. Nobody deserves to die. Those words came from his heart. They were so commonplace. And they soaked into my heart too. Maybe it was a mistake to take someone's life, even if it was to save Totoko. If this is the price I had to pay, this horrible tragedy, this is a little much, Oyashiro-sama. Why did you never punish me? Come to think of it, Totoko said something. Oyashiro-sama's actual curse, there you go, never goes for the target at first, because everyone they love before that. Oyashiro-sama's curse. It was a convenient excuse I told myself at the very end, that it wasn't my curse that destroyed it, but Oyashiro-sama's. Given that I was in a stretcher, this next bit might have been obvious. But last of all, I realized one thing. Yeah. Today, I had not heard those footsteps following me, even once. Okay, I don't know actually where this is going to end, so I'm going to stop right there. God, everything happened. I don't even know what to say at the end of this. Everything happened. I mean, if the ending is going to be soon, I might just like cut that up and put it in the next video, or in this video. So look forward to that. So as I am looking forward to finally to get to the freaking all cast. That's what I've wanted this entire time. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.